The liberal media also won't tell you that 90 million gun owners last year with over 300 million guns killed nobody. And if guns are the problem, really the problem, what's going on with these gun shows? Why aren't these guns just killing all the people that show up and attend? Hey, gun shows are the safest place you can be. Except for that one little unfortunate incident we had in Hot Springs, but I won't mention that. I know you want to hear me say something about Islam. Can I talk about this, doctor? All right. Okay. No. Political correctness is killing this nation. Political correctness is a major thing in America. It has made strong men cowards. It has contributed to the destruction of liberty. And I'm not going to ask you to do anything that I don't do, that I'm not willing to do. So what I need you to do is stop falling for this political correct BS. And when something isn't right, stand up and speak up. Speak the truth. Stop being sweet, just the truth. And you see, here's why the Justice Department, I think, hasn't come after me yet. Because I don't do the hate speech thing. I don't call Muslims names. I don't hate Muslims. I don't hate anybody. Well, no, I'm not going to talk about the president today. But I do detest the ideology of Islam. And I can say this because when 9/11 happened, I was a television news anchor and reporter. I had no idea what I never even thought about Islam. I didn't know what that was. But I sat there and I thought, who are these people? Why would anyone kill 3,000 innocent people in the name of a religion and kill themselves? What is up with that? So, when I have questions, I find answers. I read and studied the Quran, the Hadith, and the Surah for 12 years. So, you can't come to me and start messing with me about Islam because I know my stuff. And here's why I made the decision I did about my gun range. First of all, I'm not in the coffee donut shop business, okay? I'm serving up lethal weapons. So I have to be extremely cautious about anyone and everyone who comes through that door and wants to shoot guns. I am responsible for your safety and security when you are inside my range. It is my responsibility to keep an eye on the shooters, make sure everyone is adhering to gun safety handling rules, and that everyone is okay. We don't have anybody in there tripping out of anything. And that everybody in there is not under the influence of anything. That everybody is of sound mind and sound gun handling skills. Well, you see, when I read the Quran, the Hadith, and Surah, I discovered that there are 109 verses, 109, dictating hate, murder, and terror against all human beings who refuse to submit or convert. So when I hear these news anchors talking about, well, these radical extremists did this today, those radical extremist Muslims, they threw some Christians overboard in a boat yesterday, and this radical extremist Muslim beheaded a woman in Oklahoma, and those radicals down their towers in New York at 9/11, and this radical blew up some bombs in Boston. And when I hear all this, I say, no! Do your homework. These people who are committing these atrocities are not radical. They're not extremists. They are the devout. They're being good Muslims. They're doing what the Quran tells them to do. So why would I hand a loaded gun to someone to shoot in my range whose religion commands him to shoot, to murder anyone around him who is not of his faith? Why would I do that? I've been talking about Islam for 5 years. I've been trying to educate people on Islam for 5 years. I've read all the books. I've read The Grand Jihad by former federal prosecutor Andrew McCarthy. I've read Cruel and Unusual Punishment by a Muslim, Nani Darwish. I studied Dr. Zuki Jasser, a Muslim in Arizona, physician, great guy. Now, there's a guy, the Muslims would pay attention to him. He could change the face of Islam in America, but they won't listen. I studied his work. I like that guy. He is like, I believe, a number of Muslims in this country. He doesn't have any ill will. He served our country in the military. Well, so did Nadal Hassan. We know how that went, don't we? Dr. Jasser, when 9/11 happened, he stood up, he came forward, he'd been raised a Muslim by his family, but apparently they left out those verses in the Quran. They shielded him from that. I don't know. But all I know is he is of the belief that Islam is peaceful. He doesn't condone terrorism. And so when 9/11 happened, he stood up and he went he went to all the imams, he called the imams, he said, we have to stand up. We have to do a press conference. We have to tell the American people that this is not Islam. No, we do not condone acts of terror against innocent people. No. Not only could a single imam stand with him to make that statement, he was excommunicated. And then there are those of you who say, but Jan, what about those peaceful Muslims? I mean, you're not going to let them come in your range? I mean, they don't have any... How am I going to know which ones are peaceful? Because here's the deal, and here's what I say in my article. If you are an adult, I hold you accountable for the religion that you align yourself with. And if you say you are a Muslim, I assume that you've read your Quran, Hadith, and Surah. I've read it, and I'm not even a Muslim. So if you've read that, and you choose to continue to be aligned with that, then I'm going to say, if that's what you are, I can't afford to trust you to be around people that you're commanded to kill. I can't. And besides that, even if you tell me, oh, Jan, look, I'm willing to sign whatever you need me to sign, saying I don't believe in this and that and this, and I'm not going to... No, I can't even believe in him because Islam has something called Taqiyya, T-A-Q-I-Y-Y-A, which allows us, it is their permission from Muhammad to lie as long as it advances the agenda of Islam. Right. And furthermore, if you are a mosque-attending Muslim, you are required to participate in zakat, Z-A-K-A-T. That is a mandated form of tithing. You have to do that. And it's already been proven by our own government that a portion of that tithe is being funneled to fund terror. So whether you realize it or intend to do this or not, when you participate in zakat, you are funding terrorism against innocent people around the world. So, guess what, folks? Here's the deal. I'm not going to back down. The FBI called me a week after I wrote that article. My cell phone rang. My husband and I were in bed. This is something not everyone knows. I'm telling you a secret, okay? No, not my husband. I was in bed with my husband. I sleep with my husband. That's not the secret. No, we were in bed, and my cell phone rings. And I looked at it, and I thought, I don't recognize that number. And I showed it to my husband. I said, do you recognize that number? And he said, no. He said, answer it. Okay. Hello? And his voice said, Jan Morgan, this is Special Agent Krista Paslin with the Counterterrorism Unit of the Federal Bureau of Investigations. We would like to meet with you today. Please. No. This guy's with the FBI. Well, this is a good joke. I said, wait. Seriously? Who is this? He said, this is Special Agent Krista Paslin with the Counterterrorism. I said, yeah, I heard her. He said, so, you got my cell phone number? Oh, of course you have my cell phone number. You have everything in my cell phone. You have my text messages, my pictures, what pictures have I sent my husband lately? What's in there? Okay, what's in my phone? Oh, my emails. You have everything. And then, am I going over? Is it time to shut up? I'll wrap it up. And he started laughing then. And And he said, well, so can you meet with us today, please? And I said, in Washington? He said, no, we're in Little Rock right now, but we're headed to Hot Springs and we need to meet with you. I said, wait, you're asking if you can meet with me? I thought, that's not how you guys work. Don't you come barreling in your black SUVs and shut down the place and demand time? Is that how you do it? He started laughing at me and said, no, you're not in trouble. We just want to talk to you. I said, okay. Can my husband come? He said, yes, we would like to meet you at the sheriff's department. I said, oh, boy, they're going to put me in jail. So we go up there together, and he and his supervisor showed me their credentials. And he said, we need you to understand that ISIS is in Arkansas. They've already targeted one of our soldiers' sons. One of our soldiers who is dropping bombs on ISIS targets in Syria was tweeting back to his wife and his son. They intercepted it, and so now we've got a situation. We're trying to stay on top of that. But they're here, and you need to understand that your picture with your AR-15, that's a picture everybody decided to use it. I don't know why. It's the weirdest thing. I was walking through my living room one night on Greta Van Susteren. Here I am. I said, oh my gosh, I'm on Greta. Why am I not on Greta? She's talking about me. I can't talk about me. But anyway, he said, you need to understand what that means. And I hope you are taking extra security precautions because we can't protect you all the time. I looked at him and I said, well, if you've been in my emails and my text messages and my Facebook and my website, then you know that I've been getting death threats from Muslims for 5 years because of what I do. So this is not new to me. And he said, well, this is different. You're probably going to become a target of opportunity. I said, okay. I said, I hope you're not going to ask me to change what I'm doing because I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not going to stop doing what I do on Facebook. I'm not going to stop doing what I do on my website. I can't do that. He said, no, you just need to understand what's at stake here. And I said, okay. And my husband's looking at me like, oh my gosh. Speaking of my husband, I wish he could be here, but he's helping me teach my gun class right now. But let me tell you about this guy. See, I know I got the right guy because I looked at him after all this was over, when our phone's ringing off the gun range, I'm getting death threats, he's getting death threats. CNN is following him to his business, trying to get him to talk me into doing a TV interview. I refuse to do all the interviews with the mainstream media because I said, I don't know your game. I've been there. I'm not doing that with you. I've got a business to run here. But one night, he was cleaning guns. After CARE had asked the Justice Department to investigate me, the ACLU. He's cleaning guns, and I was sitting there looking at it, and I said, are you mad at me? He said, why would I be mad at you, Jen? I said, well, I probably should have discussed it with you before I wrote that article. I mean, I'm a Christian wife. I'm a submissive wife. I should have come to you and said, honey, I'm thinking about doing this. Do you see a problem here? Should I not? I should have discussed it with you first. And I said, if you want me to, sweetheart, I'll take it all down. I'll drop my website. I'll stop all of the stuff I'm doing. I won't do more speeches. I'll just be your wife. I'll stop it all. And he looked at me and he said, Jane, what was the first thing you talked to me about the first time you met me? And I said, the Islamization of our country. I said, I figured that didn't run off nothing good. And he said, okay. I knew what you were when I met you. I knew who you were when I asked you to marry me. And for me to ask you not to do what you're doing would be me asking you not to be who you are. Carry on, sweetheart. He's a great guy to come out of the Eastern Mountain City. Okay, I'm going to wrap up with this. I came here today to rally the troops, okay? I want to get you fired up. Because here's the deal. We need you. We need everyone. I can't do this by myself. Jack can't. It's going to take a village. It's going to take all of us. And it's going to take more than just going to the voting booth and voting. You're going to have to do some hard things. Like talk to people who don't want to hear you talk about it. Talk about the upcoming election. Talk to people about Hillary. Now women, they'll pull your hair out And she's listening. She's on listening to her. That's why she's not answering all those tough questions about Benghazi and the email scandal, the murderous trail from the tree company she built. They're not talking about it because she's listening to people. You're going to have to get tough. You have to stand up and speak out for whatever truths you decide to wrap your arms around. Those days of, we grew up, Mom and Dad said, no, when we go to a company's house, don't talk politics and don't talk religion, because that's just those tough, we don't do that. Well, guess what? We're not in those days anymore. We have to. We have to talk it. We can't be afraid. And you sit there and you say, well, what can one person do? I mean, okay, say I want to help out with the gun rights thing. What if I'm just one person? Unless I run for office, I mean, what am I going to do? I'm just every citizen. Let me tell you what one average citizen did. One virtually unknown citizen did that changed the entire face of gun rights in the state of Texas. She went before the Texas legislature just as a regular citizen, you and me, when they were about to pass the most restrictive gun control laws ever in the history of that state. It was after one of those mass shootings. And she went before the Texas legislature. This is on video, by the way, if you want to look it up on YouTube. She went before the legislature. She's a young woman. And she stood up and she said, my parents were celebrating their 45th wedding anniversary. They wanted me to meet them at Luby's cafeteria for lunch. And any other time, I always have a gun on me. But on that day, because of the gun laws, I left it under the seat of my truck. And I met my mom and my dad in Luby's to celebrate with them. 45 years of marriage. And we just sat down to eat when suddenly some guy comes in camo with a big camouflage duffel bag and an arsenal, and he just starts shooting up the place. He's just killing people everywhere around us. She said, my daddy knew that I always had that gun, and so he looked at me across the table like, I knew he was asking, do you have it, baby? And she said, I reached for my purse, because that's always where it was, and I remembered it was in my truck. So my daddy, he saw a moment when he thought he could stop that bad guy. And he jumped up and he charged him. And my mother and I watched as he shot my daddy multiple times. And then he turned his back on us and started another direction with his rampage. And glass was blown out in front of Luby's cafeteria, all the windows. So I grabbed my mother and I said, Mama, here's our chance. We have to go. Come on, Mom. And I grabbed her and took off running. And it wasn't until I got outside to safety and I turned around to see that my mama had not followed me out. Because you see, my mama had been with my dad 45 years. She wasn't going to leave him to die alone on that floor. Gentlemen, my mama had crawled over to my daddy. She had held his head in her lap. She was cradling him, soothing him, talking to him. When that gunman turned around and walked over to my mom, put a gun in her head, and she said, my mother. She looked up at him one last time, and then she just bowed her head and cradled my dad. And I watched that man blow my mother's head off. And she said, you know what? I'm not mad at that guy. Because that guy is crazy. No. I'm mad at you. And you. And you. And you. And she looked down the line, pointing at every one of those legislators. And she said, the blood of my parents is on your hands. Because you were trying to legislate the way my the video. They're sitting there. Changed their faces that night in the state of Texas. One woman, just like you. So don't say you can't make a difference. You can. And finally today, I leave you with this. I know our country's in bad shape, and I know it's hard. I know you watch the news and you get frustrated and depressed. It's scary. It is. It's very scary to me. But here's the deal. You can't give up, folks. You can't give up. No matter how bad it gets, you can't tuck tail and run. That is not the spirit of our founding fathers. So what I need you to do today is make up your mind that when it gets tough, when it gets really, really tough, and you start feeling like, okay, we need to get our passport, we got to get out of here, Hillary's going to take over this country soon. Oh my gosh. Folks, you can't give up.
Please.
When Barack Obama won, I hate to say he won it, when it was apparent that he was going to be handed a second term, I was watching the return on TV and I went into a coma. My husband said, honey, come on, let's just go to bed. Come on. And I just said, what? I couldn't believe it. And then I got on Facebook for encouragement because there are 500,000 patriots on my Facebook, and I thought, okay, we've got to regroup here. Let's get on Facebook. These people will cheer me up. We'll encourage each other that, okay, we lost this battle, but it's not the end of the war. And I get on, and all I saw from fellow patriots was, it's over, we're doomed, America's lost. Might as well give up, might as well get our dugout bags, head to the hills, hide in the caves, and wait till the dust settles and see what's left. I thought, well, wait a minute. Where are all those patriots? Who are these people? We do not have the right to give up. And if you start feeling overwhelmed and feeling like giving up, you need to go back and read the story of our founding fathers. Our founders. Okay, this is my last paragraph. Our founding fathers. If anybody ever in the history of the world had a right and a reason to be overwhelmed and give up, it was those guys. They were outmanned, out-armed, starving to death, freezing to death. Many of them trying to fight a war barefoot and in underwear. They had nothing. The British were saying, hey, you can find the colonists. Just follow the trail of blood and snow. Their feet are bleeding because they don't have boots on. I mean, talk about a reason to feel doomed. They didn't give up. They didn't give up. Thank God for that. Thank God for that. And then they gave us the most incredible gift in the world, the United States of America, and it's our job to keep it. And folks, remember, the only way to keep tyranny at bay is to remain armed. An armed America is a free America. God bless.
Okay, let's hear it again. Thank you so much, Dan Morgan. Great, appreciate that. We won't give up.